My name's Richard. I was 50 when everything really started to unravel. Though, honestly, it had been brewing long before that. And if you're sitting there wondering how a guy like me could just up and walk out on his family without a word, let me tell you, it wasn't some single dramatic event. No, it was more of a slow simmer. You ever hear that old saying about how if you toss a frog into boiling water, it'll leap right out, but if you warm the water gradually, it won't even notice it's being cooked alive? That was me. I was the frog. I've been sitting in that pot for years, decades. Actually, the worst part? I didn't even feel the heat until someone placed a glittery crown on my head that read King of Letdowns. Right there in front of everyone I cared about, or thought I did, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's rewind a bit. I've been married to Sophia for 27 years. We met back in college. She was the bold, outspoken one who could command a room without trying. I was more the quiet, tech-savvy guy who knew how to fix a crash hard drive and grill a mean steak. A few years after we graduated, we had our daughter, Grace. I won't sugarcoat it. She became the center of my universe. Yeah, I know she's not a son, but to me, that didn't matter. I showed up. Recitals, fevers, late-night study meltdowns, college move-ins. I was there, not perfect, not even close, but present. I worked a steady IT job that never thrilled me, but it paid the bills, and someone had to make sure the mortgage and electric stayed current. Sophia stayed home. For a while, she dipped into selling essential oils. Later, she ran a Facebook group centered around women's empowerment. Though from what I could tell, it mostly consisted of gossip sessions peppered with passive-aggressive Bible verses. We lived in a cookie-cutter house in the suburbs, had 2 cars, and a golden retriever named Max. From the outside, we looked like a Pinterest version of the American dream. But the inside told a different story. It started subtly, barely noticeable at first. Sophia would cut me off mid-sentence like my words didn't matter or weren't worth hearing. In the beginning, I brushed it off. That's just her way. I'd tell myself, but then came the jabs. If I dozed off after a long day, she'd smirk and say something like, "Must be nice to nap after doing the bare minimum." If I forgot something at the store, milk, bread, whatever, she'd sigh and quip, "You had one job," always with that half-laugh, half-scoff tone that made me feel like the joke, yet left no room to get upset without seeming overly sensitive. Grace started picking up on it too. I'd offer advice, and she'd roll her eyes or just dismiss it. At family discussions, my ideas wouldn't register until someone else, usually louder, rephrase them. It wasn't that I was being abused, exactly, more like I was being tolerated. I wasn't the protagonist in my own life anymore. I was just a background extra, filling space. So when I hit the big 5-0, I didn't expect fireworks. Maybe a simple dinner, a store-bought cake, just something that acknowledged I still existed. Instead, they threw a surprise bash at our place. The works, streamers, balloons, a big happy 5-0 banner. Sophia's book club showed up. Grace's friends were there, even my brother Elliot made an appearance. And he only ever came around when alcohol was involved. They'd already fired up the grill, and apparently, I was expected to man it. No one asked me if I felt like cooking ribs and burgers on my own damn birthday. But I smiled because that's what I do. About halfway through, someone brought out the crown. Grace's idea. They said a paper Burger King knockoff decked out in glitter and big, bold, sharp letters. King of Letdowns. Everyone roared. Sophia applauded like it was the most hilarious thing she'd ever seen. Even Elliot leaned in and said, "Damn, bro, that's harsh, but not wrong, huh?" I laughed too. Not a real laugh, a tight, practiced one, the kind you fake when you feel like throwing up but don't want to ruin the mood. After flipping the last burger, I was handed the phone to take group pictures. "Dad, take one of us." Grace called. Then another. "Make sure you get everyone." And I did, everyone but me. Not one picture that night had me in it. Then came the cake. Someone shouted, "Make a wish, Rick." Maybe wish for a personality. More laughter. I held the knife tighter than I should have, but I smiled again because I always smile. Hours later, after the crowd had cleared, I was still cleaning up solo. Sophia was curled up on the couch, scrolling through her phone, sipping something pink out of a tumbler. I asked, "Hey, did you actually think that crown was funny?" She didn't even glance up, just said, "It was a joke, relax, you've been so touchy lately." That night, long after she'd gone to bed, I sat alone in the dark, staring at the blinking cursor on a travel site. I didn't know where I was headed, just that I couldn't stay. I booked a one-way flight to a small town in Oregon I'd visited years ago for a work thing. Quiet place, trees everywhere. There was a diner that served peach cobblers so good it made you forget your name. I packed light, just some clothes, my laptop, a few paperbacks, and Max. Yeah, I took the dog. No one noticed I was gone right away. I left a note. No big goodbye speech, nothing poetic, just a few honest lines. "I need to go. I don't think I've ever really been happy. Take care of yourselves? Richard. I left it on the kitchen counter with my house key. 2 weeks later, I saw a Facebook post from Grace. It was a picture from her high school graduation, one of the rare shots where I actually made it into the frame. The caption read, "If anyone sees my dad, please tell him we're sorry. We didn't realize how much we took him for granted. We just want him to come home." The comments flooded in, people saying stuff like, "He always seemed so quiet," and "You never know what someone's going through." Elliot even added, "Miss my big bro. Hope you're okay out there." This from the same guy who called me a doormat 3 separate times during the party. I didn't reply. Not yet. Because here's the thing. They all thought me leaving was some tragic ending, but really? It was just the beginning. The first message came from Elliot. "Yo bro, we need to talk. Everything's going to hell." Then, call me. A little while later, Sophia chimed in. "What are you even doing? This stopped being funny a long time ago. Come home. We need to talk this out." And then came the public broadcast. Classic Sophia. Vague, dramatic, and just ambiguous enough to cast herself as the wrong party. When someone you love chooses to walk out instead of communicating like an adult, it says more about them than it does about you. Right on cue. Her church friends and MLM circle swarmed in the comments with comforting platitudes and praying hands emojis. But what caught my attention weren't those expected replies. It was what showed up underneath them. Quiet comments from people I hadn't thought about in years. A former coworker of mine dropped in. "Always thought Rich deserved better. Hope he's finally doing what's right for him." Another person wrote, "I was there at that birthday party. That wasn't okay. None of it was." Sophia deleted the post within hours. Probably didn't like that the narrative wasn't tilting entirely in her favor. And that, strangely enough, was the beginning of the real unraveling. Elliot, who'd leaned on me financially more times than I can count, credit card debt, surprise car repairs, that time he accidentally lost his wallet in Vegas, suddenly found himself staring at a denied loan application. No co-signer, no fallback, just "Sorry, sir." Turns out, being the dependable older brother came with a cost, and I'd stopped paying it. Meanwhile, Grace's car payments, which were still being drafted from our joint account out of habit, stopped clearing. The next installment bounced. I wasn't being spiteful. I just stopped holding up weight no one else even noticed I was carrying. Then came the tipping point. 2 weeks after the birthday debacle, I got a certified letter forwarded to the little studio apartment I'd rented in Ashbrook from Sophia's attorney. She was filing for separation. Not just that, she was going for the works. Emotional abandonment, alimony, and a claim that since she'd been a stay-at-home mother, she was entitled to the bulk of our assets. I actually laughed like real chest-deep laughter, because what she didn't know, what she never bothered to think about, was that I've been keeping records for years, not out of bitterness, just routine. I'm an IT guy, I document things, it's what I do. Every tax return, every tuition invoice, every roof I patched on her mother's house, every hour spent rewiring the laundry room she never thanked me for. So I hired a lawyer, Maxwell, quiet guy, sharp as a razor, but allergic to drama. The kind of guy who lives for paper trails and facts over feelings. When we met, I handed him a thick folder of records and a USB drive. He gave a low whistle. "This is comprehensive." I shrugged. "Comes with the territory, I back things up." Maxwell smiled, nodded, and we got to work. We weren't out to destroy Sophia. That wasn't the goal. We just wanted to present the truth, that I had been the one keeping the wheels turning, emotionally and financially, while quietly being dismissed like a background character in a sitcom nobody bothered watching anymore. But even as we built the case, part of me, some small, naive part, still hoped for something else, a letter, a real apology, some indication that she finally saw it. Not just that I was gone, but why I had to go. Instead, I got a voicemail from Grace. I didn't answer when she called. Let go straight to voicemail. Her voice was trembling. "Dad, things are getting really bad here. Mom's losing it. She's trying to sell the house, but apparently she can't without your signature. Elliot's living with us now, and they won't stop fighting. I don't even feel safe here. Please, please call me." And then she whispered, like she didn't want anyone nearby to hear, "I think I'm starting to get why you left." I stared at my phone for a long time after that. Max, who'd been napping by the door, looked up at me. His ears perked, as if waiting for a command. That was the moment, the actual pivot point, because someone for the first time wasn't just asking me to return, they were starting to understand what had pushed me away in the first place. And that minute was time to move forward. Time to show what happens when someone who's been taken for granted decides not to play along anymore. I played her message back more than once. Each time, her words settled a little deeper, carved out new space in my chest. Grace didn't sound like the sarcastic, dismissive daughter I'd grown used to, the one who called me extra or told me to stop being so old school. No, this time her voice was soft, honest, stripped of the usual eye rolls and edge. But it didn't change the plan, because I knew who Sophia really was. She wasn't the type to throw plates or scream across a room. She was more dangerous than that. She was the master of subtle manipulation, the passive-aggressive victim who knew how to twist a story just enough to make you question your own memory. You'd end up apologizing for things she did, and somehow thanking her for forgiving you. Leaving her wasn't just about ending a marriage. It was about escaping a psychological labyrinth. And watching her carefully constructed world begin to crumble without me there to prop it up, it didn't feel vindictive. It felt clear, like opening a window in a room you didn't realize had gone stale. But Grace was different, or at least I wanted to believe she was. That voicemail felt like the first breadcrumb, a sign she might be ready to look past the performance and see the truth underneath. I wasn't ready to call her yet, but I took a step I hadn't taken since the day I left. I texted her, "I heard your message. I'm okay. I'm not ready to come back, but I'm listening." No reply for hours. Then finally, "Thank you. Just knowing that helps." It wasn't a reconciliation. It wasn't even a conversation. But it was something. And meanwhile, back in Sophia's world, things were unraveling faster than even I anticipated. The next card to play came from Maxwell, who filed a formal motion to challenge the financial claims in the separation case. Our evidence was solid, our timeline airtight. And Sophia? She was finally being forced to face a truth she'd spent decades avoiding. That when the man you belittle walks away, the whole house starts to shake. We submitted copies of my pay stubs from the past 20 years, a detailed breakdown of every expense I'd covered alone, and my favorite part, a year-by-year log of the money I funneled into Elliot's black hole of debt. Sophia had claimed I'd been emotionally absent for years. Maxwell countered with birthday videos, vacation photos, text messages, even therapy invoices showing I had paid for Grace's counseling after her high school breakup. He built the case like a house of cards, one brick of proof after another, until the foundation of her story began to shake. I wasn't trying to win custody. There was no child involved. I didn't want the house. I didn't even want revenge in the financial sense. I just wanted the truth to be undeniable. I wanted her to stand in court and explain why she thought a man who had done everything for his family deserved a crown that labeled him a failure. Word began to spread among the extended family. My cousin Jasmine reached out. "I always thought Sophia was intense," she said. "We just didn't say anything." A couple of Grace's old teachers sent private messages on Facebook. "You were always at parent-teacher night. Never missed one. Some kids don't have that." Grace was lucky. Funny how people only see things clearly in hindsight. About 6 weeks after the party, I got an email from Sophia herself. Not through her lawyer, just her. The subject line was blank. The body said, "I miss you even now. I don't understand why you didn't just tell me how you were feeling." That line, that single sentence, it set something off inside me. Because I did tell her 1,000 times in 1,000 ways, through tired eyes and long sighs, through standing in the rain with a flat tire while she stayed warm at home, through late-night grocery runs when Grace was sick and Sophia was too tired, through giving up my dream of starting a business because her essential oil store needed funding. But I never yelled, I never accused, I never made a scene. So, to her, I never said anything at all. I didn't reply. I just forwarded the email to Maxwell. "She's still not getting it," I wrote. And then, just when I thought things couldn't twist any harder, Grace showed up. It was a Saturday morning, rainy like always, and I was walking back from the diner with a box of leftover biscuits for Max. I saw a rental car parked crooked in front of the antique store. Then I saw her, leaning against the hood, hoodie up, arms crossed, the same expression she had when she was a teenager, and I told her she couldn't go to a concert on a school night. I stopped in my tracks. She looked up. "Hey, hey." Max let out a soft bark and trotted over. She knelt down and scratched his head. "He remembers me. He's got a better memory than most people." She flinched just slightly. Then she stood. "I didn't tell Mom I was coming," she said. I had to see you." I didn't know what to say. I just motioned for her to follow me upstairs to the studio. We sat in silence for a while. I offered her coffee. She took it black, no sugar, just like I drink mine. That made me smile just a little. Finally, she said, "I didn't get it before. Not really. I thought you were just being dramatic, leaving like that." She stared into the coffee. "Now Mom cries every day, but not because she misses you, because the credit card bills are piling up, because Elliot won't stop drinking in the basement, because the house is cold and she doesn't know how to reset the thermostat." She looked at me. "She misses the benefits of you, not you." I didn't say anything. I just let her talk. "And I think I was starting to turn into her," she whispered, "making fun of you, dismissing everything. I didn't realize how much I took you for granted until you were just gone." She looked around the small space, books piled on the desk, Max curled up on the rug, a half-finished jigsaw puzzle on the coffee table. "It's not much," she said, "but it feels more like a home than our place ever did." That got to me. I leaned back, arms crossed, unsure how to respond. I didn't want to comfort her, not yet. I wanted her to sit in that discomfort, because that's what I had done for years. And then she asked the one thing I wasn't ready for. "Are you coming back?" I looked out the window, rain tapping gently on the glass. A slow breath in, a slow breath out. "I don't know," I said, "but I'm not done yet." She didn't press. She just nodded, then stood at the door. She paused. "I hope, someday, I earn the chance to be part of your life again." And then she was gone. I stood there for a long time. The next morning, I called Maxwell. "It's time," I said. "Let's go to court." What happened next? It changed everything. 3 months later, I stood outside the courthouse in my one decent suit. The same one I'd worn to Grace's graduation, back when I still believed everything I did mattered. My palms were dry, my breathing steady. Funny, I thought I'd be nervous. But I wasn't, not anymore. I wasn't the man who laughed off insults or apologized for existing. I'd taken 3 decades of being sidelined and turned them into something sharper, stronger. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my voice. The courtroom wasn't packed, just a few bored lawyers, a sleepy clerk, and across the aisle, Sophia, dressed like a widow in a Hallmark movie, black dress, fake tears. She looked at me with a strange mix of contempt and desperation, as if she couldn't decide whether I was the villain who'd ruined her life or the tool she'd lost and suddenly needed again. When the judge asked us to speak, her lawyer went first. He painted me as a man who'd abandoned his family without warning, a woman who had sacrificed her career for the household, a daughter left emotionally wounded. Sophia even dabbed her eyes at that part. I kept my face still. Then Maxwell stood, not flashy, just deliberate. He walked the court through the timeline, the years of financial support, all backed by spreadsheets, the messages, the photos, the birthdays and holidays I had paid for and planned, the debt I took on for Elliot, the tuition, the car loan, the groceries, the bills. He showed the court the king of Letdowns crown. Yes, we submitted it as evidence. Then he read aloud the messages and social posts that followed. And then he said the line that stuck. My client didn't abandon his family. He simply stopped participating in a performance where he was always the punchline and never the star. Sophia tried to interrupt, something about context, about it being a joke, but the judge cut her off. In the end, the court ruled in my favor. The house would be sold, with proceeds split 70/30ths, heavily weighted toward me. Due to my documented contributions, Sophia's request for alimony was denied. The judge cited her unwillingness to seek employment despite being healthy and able-bodied. Her claims of emotional abandonment were deemed unsupported, based only on subjective testimony. Elliot was ordered to repay the $18,000 I had covered for his debts. I knew I'd never see the money, but that wasn't the point. The point was the record, the acknowledgement. Finally, someone had said, on paper, that what I gave mattered. After the hearing, Sophia caught me in the hallway. "This isn't fair," she hissed, voice shaking. "You made me look like a monster." I met her eyes for the first time in years. "You didn't need my help with that." She flinched like I'd slapped her, then turned and walked away. A week later, I signed the final documents and officially removed my name from the house. I wired Grace the last of the money to finish paying off her car, but with a condition: she would take over the payments going forward. She agreed. No argument. We stayed in touch, not every day, not even every week, but she started calling, not to ask for anything, just to talk. About her job, her day, her thoughts. Once, she asked for advice. That one nearly broke me. I stayed in Ashbrook, still walk Max every morning, still drink diner coffee, still read the books I never had time for. I got a part-time job fixing old electronics at a repair shop. It doesn't pay much, but it's enough. More importantly, it doesn't cost me myself. One evening, Grace visited again. She brought peach cobbler from Rosie's and sat on my porch, feet dangling off the edge. "You're not who I thought you were," she said quietly. "You're more, I just didn't see it until you stopped letting us walk all over you." I nodded. I wasn't angry when I left. I was just done. "I'm glad you were," she said, "because now I get to actually meet you." The sun dipped behind the hills, casting long shadows down the street. "You think you'll ever move back?" she asked. I smiled, shook my head. "I'm already home." Because home, I finally understood, isn't where people expect you to be. It's where you get to be yourself. And for the first time in 50 years, I finally was.